Dave Kerpen is a serial entrepreneur, New York Times best-selling author, as well as being a global keynote speaker, and we are very excited to have him with us today. Hello and welcome to Talk Business with Dave.
Hey, how are you? Great to be here.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to speak to you, Dave. Thank you so much for your time. And I know you have the busiest life doing so many cool things. If you can, give us a 60-second flyover of all the projects and businesses that you've been involved in.
Sure. Well, I just sold my first business, a marketing agency called Likeable that we built over the last 14 years, my wife and I, and we sold to a global technology consultancy. So that was really exciting. We have my core business now. My sort of biggest focus is a managed marketplace called Apprentice, where we connect CEOs and entrepreneurs with the world's smartest college students. So it's a managed marketplace. That's a wonderful business that I'm really proud of and excited by. Imagine if you were to hire a Harvard business student the day they graduate, you'd have to pay them $75,000 to $100,000. But if you hire that same person through me 1 year before they graduate, you can get them for a very, very small fraction of that cost. That's sort of the value proposition. We also have a virtual memorial service company that I started when my mom passed away last year during the pandemic. We have a virtual events company called Celebrating.live that does corporate events. We have the first one, the memorial service is called Remembering.live. We have a media company we just started on top of social audio companies like Clubhouse called Listening and Beyond that I'm very excited about. And then I started a small venture firm where we invest in women-owned and Black-owned and social impact entrepreneurs.
Awesome. Dave, I've heard a really funny story. At the front end of your career, I know you had a business selling merchandise. And is it true that you actually got kicked out because the sports coach couldn't hear himself talking to his players? Is that true?
Yeah, so my first job while I was in college was as a ballpark vendor at Fenway Park and the Boston Garden, where the Boston Red Sox, Boston Bruins, and Celtics played. I was a 3-sport star. In order to sell more product and make more commissions, I developed the whole shtick to get people's attention: singing, dancing, juggling. I had no real hard skills, mind you, but I had the courage to look like a fool. And some people hated it, but some people loved it. And I ended up making quite a bit of money. But I did bother some people along the way. One was the coach of the Celtics, who was upset that I was that his players were paying more attention to me than him. So he complained, and I was suspended. But of course, I got my job back because that you can't blame a guy for doing his job.
For sure. You've made a lot of money from being likable. What are the most likable things about what you do, and how have you managed to monetize that?
Well, I think likability is around the simple things that it's all common sense, but a lot of people struggle with these things. It all starts with listening. Most people aren't really good listeners. They're just waiting to talk. They're not listening to truly understand. And so when we listen to understand, we differentiate ourselves from everyone else. So I would say it always starts with listening. Great leadership continues with authenticity and vulnerability. There are many, many business leaders, especially men, who are afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to be authentic, afraid to be themselves. And I have found that because of that, it's actually a business advantage to be authentic and to be vulnerable. And finally, I'll close with gratitude.
Yeah,
gratitude is the most important likable leadership trait to me, and I practice gratitude several times a day. It's that important to me. What's most magical about gratitude, I consider it the world's best drug, because there's no side effects and it's actually free. Is gratitude elevates our mood. So if I'm in a bad mood, before doing a big interview, like in this case, I can take 2 minutes to express gratitude, and that elevates my mood. So gratitude puts us from a bad mood to a good mood to a great mood to ecstatic, and our moods are contagious. Yeah. So when we're leading, when we're influencing, when we're selling, when we're talking to other people, the better mood we're in, the better we're going to be able to deliver results.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant. You mentioned a few minutes ago that you announced that you sold Likeable Media for an undisclosed 8-figure sum. What are some of your best tips for being able to build a business that you can exit from via a sale?
Great question. So building a sellable business is really important whether you sell or not, and really valuable whether you sell or not. What most people do is they struggle to delegate. and they think they're the best people to do the work. And sometimes they are the best people to do the work. But even if I'm the best person to do the job, if I continue to do the job, I'll never be able to work on the business. I'll get stuck in the business. And so the most important tool is delegation, is hiring people and getting out of their way. It's really only three things a good CEO should do. One is set the overall strategy and vision of the company. Second is put the right people in the right seats. And the third is to make sure there's enough money in the bank to pay them. If you're doing those three things, the rest should theoretically take care of itself. That means that if you're doing other things, you're getting in people's way, which is getting in the way of actually building a business. The other thing I'll say is I read a book called Built to Sell. It was a wonderful, wonderful book. And it helped by John Warlow, and it helped me build scalable, repeatable processes. It's all about building scalable, repeatable, revenue predicting processes and people to help grow the business to sell.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're known as a social media expert. What tips do you have for any small business owners that just don't feel like they have the time to create content for social media?
Well, first of all, make the time. People don't have the time because they don't see value in the time. Second, you don't have to be everywhere. You should be where your customers are. So think about where your customers and prospects are. Maybe if it's B2B, maybe it's LinkedIn. If it's e-commerce, maybe it's Pinterest. But you don't have to be on every social network. Be where they are. Yeah. And third, just add value. Think about what kinds of content you would want to see if you were a customer, and add that value. Give away content, educate, entertain, and inspire. And if you're doing those three things, you're going to create value, build relationships, and ultimately monetize.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Being involved in so many things, how do you manage your own time and also prioritize your family, which I know is a huge thing for you, Dave?
Yeah, so I am ruthless about my scheduling. You probably scheduled this interview months ago, for example. Yeah. I'm extremely ruthless in making sure that my calendar reflects my priorities. Vern Harnish, one of my mentors and friends and investors, the founder of Entrepreneurs Organization, said to me years ago, you can tell your overall values and strategy by looking at your calendar for the week. So if I said yes to everyone that asked me to meet, my calendar would be chock full of appointments that weren't focused on the right things, right? So I say no to quite a bit. I ruthlessly prioritize, and I am consistent in those prioritizations. So for instance, Fridays I spend with my son, my 6-year-old son. So it doesn't matter if Oprah calls. My Friday time is blocked for my son, and I prioritize that. I just think that's really, really important. At the end of our lives, on our deathbeds, nobody ever said, I wish I had made more money, and I wish I had started more businesses, and I wish I had been more successful. They say, I wish I had spent more time with my kids over and over and over again. So for me, it's really important to prioritize these things now.
Yeah, brilliant. How do you keep yourself motivated, Dave, having already had so much success? What gets you out of bed in the morning raring to go?
Oh man, I haven't done anything compared to what I can still do. The world's a very, very big place, and we have a very limited amount of time. So for me, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I absolutely don't think I've had a lot of success. I've had a couple of lucky wins, and I've been fortunate to write a couple of books that some people have read. But I walk down the street in New York and nobody recognizes me. It's not like I'm a celebrity or anything. And so I have many opportunities still to build and to create and to impact the world. So every single day I wake up excited to do that. And certainly the day that I end up not motivated is to impact the world is the day I guess I should quit working. But that's hopefully very, very, very far away.
Yeah. What is the one thing that puts you off working with somebody in business?
Oh, somebody that's not likable. I won't work with assholes. I don't work with people that treat people poorly, people that are arrogant, people that are condescending, people that are unkind. And fortunately, I have worked hard enough in my career to be able to make those choices. We had a client earlier this year that was treating one of my apprentices poorly. I just fired him. I don't care. No amount of money is worth working with somebody who is a jerk. It's just life is too short. Yeah. So we have a no a-hole policy for sure.
Yeah, brilliant. What is the one thing that not many people know about you that would surprise our listeners and viewers, Dave?
Oh, I love that question because I'm so out there and so public. And so transparent that most folks that want to Google stalk me can find out pretty much everything. I guess, pre-internet stuff is harder to know. My first appearance on television was when I was 17 years old on a show called The Geraldo Rivera Show. He was a big talk show host in the U.S. And they were touring different high schools. And they came to my high school and said, would you like tickets to go see the show? So I said, sure. So I took my friend at the time, it's like I said, I was 17 years old in high school. And we're waiting online to go inside the show. And the producer comes out and says, anyone with an orange colored ticket, come this way. And we had an orange colored ticket. So we followed the producer and they say, actually, you're not here to see the show. You're here to be on the show. You're going to be on our panel today. And the topic is teen sex. So I was like, uh-oh. So it turned out to be one of the more popular episodes of Geraldo because one of the people on the panel had HIV and ended up on The Real World, which is an early reality television show. His name was Pedro Zamora. Anyway, the show was about 2/3 of the way through, and Geraldo had been talking about the dangers of teen sex, unwanted pregnancies, HIV, STDs. And he comes back from a break and he says, let me ask you something. Of the 30 people on this panel, is there anyone here who's actually a virgin? You, sir, you're a virgin. Tell us why. So my very first television appearance was talking about why I was a virgin at the age of 17. And suffice to say, it locked in my virginity for the rest of high school. That is one thing that most people wouldn't know because it's not out there. Thankfully, the video is nowhere to be found.
Dave, that's absolutely brilliant. Dave, I know how busy you are. I'm so grateful for your time in booking this with us today. Do you have any closing thoughts? And also, how can people follow you on your journey?
Yeah, people can follow me on all the social networks. And one of my core values is responsiveness. So if anyone has a question for me or wants to meet today, tomorrow, for the rest of your lives, you can reach out. And I do have office hours every Thursday. You can go to scheduledave.com to chat with me. There is a very, very long wait at this point, but I'm happy to chat with anyone. If I can be helpful, I'm delighted to be.
Awesome. Dave, thanks again for your time. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Brilliant.